I was trained to survive almost anything. Cold, hunger, exhaustion, fear. Situations most people will never go near. And I'm telling you this because for years, the one thing I could not survive was my own home. A soldier, trained to survive anything, except this, except what was happening under my own roof, from the person who was supposed to be the safest of all. Before we go any further, one honest word of care. This video talks about domestic abuse, and it talks about suicide. If that's a heavy place for you right now, look after yourself. There are support links in the description, and you can come back to this anytime. And if this ends up being the one thing someone needed to hear today, then it's worth every minute it takes me to say it. If you appreciate me making this type of content, gently tap that like button. It genuinely helps this reach the person who needs it tonight. So, let's begin. Let me start with who I was, because it matters. I joined the Royal Marine Commandos in November of 1990, and I passed for duty the following July. That's around 8 months of the longest, hardest basic infantry training of any force in NATO or the Commonwealth. From there, I trained as a communications specialist, and a few years later, I passed selection for UK Special Forces, where I served for a number of years. In time, I returned to the Commandos. I wanted a commission, and my commanding officer had encouraged me to get some experience outside the Special Forces environment first. I'm not telling you that to impress you. I'm telling you so that when I say what I say next, you really hear it. I was, by any measure, one of the strong ones, the capable one, the one others relied on. And being strong did not protect me. It never does. Because the people who do this, they don't target the weak. That's the myth. They target the loyal, the committed, the ones who don't quit. Those are exactly the people who will keep trying to fix something, long after anyone else would have walked away. It was during that period, back with the Commandos, that I met the woman who would become my wife, and later, my ex-wife. And I'll be straight with you, leaving the military is the biggest regret of my life. Apart from meeting her, I served 10 years, and I was coerced into walking away from all of it. That's not a word I use lightly, but that is what happened. Because here's what the abuse actually looked like, and it's not what most people picture. There were no bruises at the start, nothing loud, nothing you could point to. It was subtle. It was my self-esteem being chipped away, slowly and steadily, until I barely recognised what I thought of myself. It was being cut off from friends I'd had for years, one at a time, until the world got very small and very quiet. I go into all of it in detail in my book, but that's the shape of it. Slowly undermined, slowly isolated, slowly convinced that the problem was me. There's a name for that pattern. It's called coercive control. It isn't a single event you can hold up to the light. It's a slow taking over of one person's world by another. Who you see, what you believe, how you feel about yourself. If you're sitting there right now, thinking, I don't have a word for what's happening to me, hold on to that one. Coercive control. Sometimes, just having the language is the first crack of light. I can tell you the exact moment I could no longer call it anything else. We'd had a heated argument, and I said I was going to leave, and she punched me in the face. I took hold of both her wrists, just so she couldn't do it again. That's all. And she bit me, badly. I bled a great deal, and I lost 3 days of work while it healed. When I went back in, my boss, a good friend, took one look at me, and he took me quietly aside. And that was my first breakdown, right there. I want to sit with that for a second, because this is the part almost nobody talks about honestly. I was a trained Special Forces soldier, and I was being physically injured at home, covering it, losing work over it, breaking down at my desk over it. If it can happen to me, please, hear this. It is not about how tough you are. If any of this is landing a little too close to home, do me a favour. Drop one word in the comments. Just one. Whatever you're feeling, you don't have to explain it. I read them. All of them. Sometimes, one honest word is the first time a person has told the truth to anyone, and it matters that you're not carrying it completely alone. Now, everyone on the outside asks the same question. Why didn't you just leave? And I understand it. But when you're inside it, you cannot see the shape of it. It happens in increments, each one small enough to explain away, until one day you realise you've slowly stopped being yourself, and you can't quite remember when it started. And for a man whose whole identity was built on being the one who could handle anything, admitting it was abuse felt like admitting a failure of character. That shame, that's the trap inside the trap. It's the thing that keeps strong people silent the longest. I'd have rather carried it alone than let anyone see it had happened to me. And carrying it alone is what took me to the lowest point of my life. This was years later. I was on a short assignment in Ireland, in Limerick, and by then the weight of it all had pushed me somewhere very dark. I was having vivid, waking visions of ending my own life, and in them I felt free, weightless, like a bird lifting away on the wind. I need to be careful how I say this, because I know who might be listening. That feeling was not peace. It was how far the pain had carried me from myself. I had made a decision. I had a day in mind, and I had a place. I'll leave it there, because the how doesn't matter, and I will never put it into someone else's head. What matters is what happened next. I was crossing one of the bridges over the river on my way back, and I could see a storm rolling in over the hills behind the city, and then, just as I turned along the water, I saw something that stopped me dead and broke me open. The storm cracked apart, and the light of a rainbow came down and struck the tower of the cathedral across the river. I actually took photographs of it. They're the ones on the screen right now. This is not a stock image. This is the thing I saw. And in that moment, I knew, with a certainty I can't fully explain, that there had to be another way, that I had to choose to live, because taking my life wouldn't end suffering. It would only hand it to my mother, my father, my brothers and sisters. That rainbow on that tower was the sign. It was the point I turned back toward the light instead of away from it. I want to pause and speak directly to anyone who is in that dark place right now. Please, don't carry it in silence tonight. Reach out to someone. If you're a man and you've been told your whole life to just get on with it, I'm talking to you especially, because the truth is, male domestic abuse and male suicide are massively overlooked. In the UK, Mankind supports male victims of abuse. ROC 2 Recovery supports the armed forces, veterans, the emergency services and their families through stress and trauma. CALM, the campaign against living miserably, is there for anyone struggling, and the Samaritans are there any hour of any day on 116123. This channel is my story, and my hand held out to you. It is not a substitute for those people, and there is no weakness in calling them. Quick pause, because I don't just want you to feel something and move on. I want you to be able to take a step. I've put together a free guide. It's called The Quiet Signs. The 10 quiet ways coercive control shows up, and the first step out. It's the thing I wish someone had put in my hands years earlier. It's free, it's private, and you can read it at your own pace. The link's in the description and the pinned comment below. Because recovery, when it finally began, wasn't about becoming someone new. It was about reclaiming the man I already was, minus the trap. It started on that bridge, and it was slow after that. The first real step was simply speaking to my friend, telling him out loud what was actually happening to me. The second was harder, acknowledging that it was real, and that, even though I was far from perfect, no one deserves to be treated the way I was being treated, and finally understanding that speaking about it was not a weakness. It was one of the strongest things I have ever done. Piece by piece, the fog lifted. My judgment came back. My sense of who I was came back. And eventually, the thing that nearly destroyed me became the thing I could use to reach other people. That's why I wrote it all down. The whole journey, the abuse, the escape, and the long road back to freedom is in my book, Breaking the Silence, a veteran's journey from abuse to freedom. If this story is landing with you, the book goes far deeper than I can here. And for a lot of people, it's been the thing that finally made them feel understood. It's linked in the description below. So here's what I most need you to take with you, especially if you're a man, quietly recognizing yourself in this, certain that no one like you has ever been here. You are not weak. You were not stupid. The fact that you couldn't just walk out doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means the thing that was done to you works exactly the way it's designed to. A soldier trained to survive anything couldn't see it either. Leaving isn't weakness. Leaving is the hardest operation you will ever run, and you're far more capable of running it than you feel right now. If this reached you, hit that like button and subscribe, because I'm building this whole channel for the person who thought they were the only one. You're not, and I'll be right here. If you want to understand the quiet tactics that keep people trapped, the things that are so easy to miss from the inside, I've made a video breaking those down. It's called It Wasn't Love, It Was Control. You can watch it right here. I'll see you in that one. Stay safe.